And now I can switch to English and make you presenter. Selim, let me just 1 second. Now it should work fine.
Perfect.
Okay, great.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so I'll go ahead and share my screen. Well, welcome. And since I didn't really quite catch the Romanian, I thought that was a nice introduction. And all right, I'll dive into the content right away. I know we have about an hour, and then I'll try to make it within the time frame, obviously. So name is Selim Seynur, and I've been working with Splunk as a product since probably 2010. Just to give you a quick background, I've been in the security field for a while, and we're a Splunk PS partner, professional services partner, providing specialized technical services, and an external collaborator of Soitron Group, the group that also includes the Datanet Systems in Romanian, I guess. And this presentation is organized by Datanet, who's a reseller, authorized reseller, obviously. So let me dive into what Splunk is, and I'm going to talk about Splunk in the context of security. So Splunk is a data-to-everything platform. It's a data platform designed to remove any of the barriers that we have between getting the data and taking action into it. And over the years, Splunk was founded, it started around like 2004. The first version came out in 2006. So over the years, it has built a rich knowledge base and experience based on IT ops and security. But based on the customer demands and other use cases coming up, DevOps and business operations has been included in this platform, and you can actually pretty much perform and ask any questions that you have as imagined, right? That's the idea. So the idea behind the entire data platform is that you can get any data inside from any source for any time scale. It can be historical, it can be real time, and then you can ask any question to it. Because the Splunk's motto is that you have data, but it's only valuable if you are able to act upon it. So it has a complete portfolio that allows you to go from investigation and monitoring to analysis and action. It's a platform that's designed to handle any type of data from any type of source. Having said that, what does that mean? It's an indexing technology. So an indexing technology is able to ingest data that is readable. So when we're talking about ingesting a binary data, a video or something like that, it's not obviously not something that we're looking for, and it's not the context of security anyway. So any readable data can be ingested into Splunk and can be investigated, queried, and analyzed. That's the idea behind it, pretty much. So through the company acquisitions, as well as its base functionality, Splunk has built skills and acquired some of the competencies, like investigation, monitoring, analysis, and taking action on top of it. So our focus today is going to be on security. From a security perspective, we're looking at incident investigation, threat hunting, maybe forensic analysis, and having a SOC where you can monitor your security as well as provide compliance with reporting. And you also want your engineers to be able to respond to incidents, perform some fraud analytics. And you also want to have automation in place, right? That's one of the key aspects of having a SOC and a modernized SOC in place. For that purpose, on top of base Splunk, company has some acquisitions like SignalFX for APM. That's actually not security related, but you have VictorOps for IT ops, and you have Phantom for security orchestration automation piece as well. I'm not really a marketing guy, so we have a few marketing slides here, but just bear with me. And then for any questions that you may have, we can always go back and answer those in terms of the sales and marketing aspects of the product. But as you probably all know, if you Google anything about Splunk, it's the #1 product in security, #1 in IT ops. And with the recent acquisition of SignalFX, it's also playing in the observability field in Gartner reports right now. Diving into the Splunk itself, what exactly are we talking about? So Splunk is a platform. We're talking about the Splunk-based Splunk over here. So we have the Splunk engine that's running. On top of the Splunk engine, you can have some of the machine learning toolkit capabilities. And our focus is mainly on Splunk Enterprise, which is a software that is running the Splunk engine. And if you run it on cloud, it's called Splunk Cloud, right? We're not going to focus on stream processor or fabric search. Those are separate products. Our focus will be also on enterprise security application. So as a platform, you have the base Splunk platform, and then you can actually add applications on top of Splunk platform itself to make it modularize and then perform other tasks. And enterprise security is one of those applications which turns the Splunk platform into a SIEM solution. If you were to use ITSI, for example, IT Service Intelligence, then you're into IT Ops. Or if you have the APM product, Signal Effects, then you're into APM realm, for example. Our focus is again on security. So let me skip this. The security portfolio, the idea behind this is to modernize your security operations and obviously to strengthen your cyber defenses. And the goal is to reduce your risk exposure. You can do that with, this is the classical SIEM approach, right? But then the Splunk's advantage would be to be adapted, actually. The Splunk platform is an adaptive platform that actually can change based on the threat landscape or your business needs. The idea behind this is an analytics-driven approach with searches and its own search processing language, which makes things very flexible and customizable. So the use cases that we're going to focus on, or that you can accomplish with Splunk, is in terms of security monitoring, obviously a SOC, a flexible out-of-the-box or correlation, customizable correlation searches that comes with it. You also have, which I'm going to show you in the demo following the slides, is that you have a bunch of searches and visualizations, dashboards out of the box. You can also perform detection of insider threats, observe some anomalous behavior. That also gives you a perspective across the entire kill chain. With all these frameworks in place, like one of the popular ones is the MITRE attack. I think it's the same in Romanian pronunciation, it's MITRE attack framework. So you can perform instant investigations. You have your automated reports to demonstrate compliance, which we also have over here in Turkey with many of our clients. And your SOC teams can shorten their investigation life cycles, as well as perform automations on some of those instances. So this is all nice and good marketing material. But then we also have to consider what the difference is between the legacy SIEMs. We all know the legacy SIEMs have been around for a while, but then the issue that we also see, we had this with many of our customers, we have many examples over here locally actually, with all these bullet points. So limited secure data types. It's very difficult to ingest new data types. For example, a customer may have a new application coming in, or they have the existing security devices upgraded, and then the log structure changes. So they have to adapt the legacy SIEM for this, or they want to add more data and they want to scale out. And it is pretty difficult with the legacy SIEMs, with the hardwares or some locked in positions. We also actually, a couple of weeks ago, one of our prospects came back to us asking for Splunk because they failed to provide investigation results for some of those data sources with the legacy SIEM due to some of these limitations. And of course, the transparency in the open ecosystem is pretty important. So how do we address these challenges? Of course, with Splunk, you have a flexible data platform, and then you build your investigations, ingestion, the pipelines, everything on this data platform, which makes it very easy to expand, customize, and of course, search and analyze. One of the key aspects perhaps we can focus on that the Splunk's ability to ingest once and use many, which we've had some success over here. actually, we had some success stories, a couple of success stories over here in Turkey with some of the clients where we initially started out the project with a SIEM solution, but then they ended up doing things for KPI analysis and some other business analytic related stuff in addition to IT ops. The other part of the success that we've seen is with the use case driven approach. So I'll try to show an example of this. A basic example is the brute force, for example, detection systems. With the legacy CMs, what you end up doing is if you have multiple different authentication systems, such as you have your Windows, Linux, application X, application Y, whatever, that are sending some authentication data, then you end up with the legacy CMs, you end up writing rules for each one separately with static thresholds. With Splunk, you can actually combine them into a use case. And then when you write a correlation search, you actually utilize that use case with some machine learning backed component of it where you can utilize it. And you don't have to deal with the static thresholds. You can dynamically adjust to those thresholds, and then it makes the false positive rates lower and management of these rules and much better because you don't have to deal with rules, you deal with use cases. And the expansion of Splunk is a software itself, so it's not dependent on any hardware. It runs on any modern platform, OS. We usually recommend Linux, but we also have customers running on Windows. In any case, you can expand horizontally. If you need more, if you have to ingest more data, and if it seems like you lack resources, you simply add more boxes horizontally and then you expand. If it's too much, you can shrink. It's up to you. I mean, and you can ingest any data type, any data sources into it, obviously. So here's a couple of screenshots, which I'll show you in the demo for Splunk Enterprise Security. Enterprise Security is the leader in Gartner for SIEM Magic Quadrant. You have the enhanced threat visibility with the instant response and event investigations. It provides a streamlined view of your events and investigations. And the idea behind this, of course, is the analytics-driven SIEM solution, where you have your various data sources, regardless of whether they are security related or not, but you can include them in security, because the idea behind security is that nothing is outside the scope of security, right? So you can monitor, you can detect, write some correlation searches based on machine learning, or maybe even static ones if you want, if you prefer those. And the SIEM itself, the enterprise security itself, allows engineers to investigate and analyze all these incidents and then make automatic responses or manual responses, take actions based on these investigations. So in terms of the data journey, what we see so far is the first goal for any customer is to getting the data in. And even with the legacy CMs, the struggle is to get some of the data in. And what we achieve with Splunk is that you can get anything inside, right? If you want to analyze it, if it's a readable data, then you can just ingest it in. There's always a way, and then it's always easy to manage operationally, because it's not only the technology that we're dealing with, the technology also has to make the operations aspect of things easier for customers so that it's usable. And Splunk is a good tool to do that. So once you have data in, then you simply monitor, you write rules to monitor your environment, and then you automate, and you basically make the basic nerve center for the security. Use Splunk as the security backbone of your infrastructure. Well, not only security, IT operations, and any other business event, obviously. So any data-related thing can be done, but our focus is security. So one key aspect to consider the success, actually, of Splunk is based on the application ecosystem, I think. This is this guy over here, the Splunk base that I'm talking about. There are close to 2,000 applications in Splunk base. It's a modular software where you can plug and play apps, add-ons as needed. What does that mean? So if I'm ingesting Palo Alto, then I can simply add on the Palo Alto add-on, and then all my data is visualized, all the searches are there. I don't have to deal with any extractions or anything like that. If there's a custom thing that I need to do, I can actually add that in as well as an app. And if I don't like it, I can remove it. I can add and customize other stuff. And there's a huge community, of course, with hundreds of, well, thousands of questions and answers out there. You have user groups. Well, we have partners like Datanet over here. So it's a big community. It's growing every day. And any answer that you have, any question that you have can be answered by either one of these apps questions or any of the leads or partners that you can reach. So having said this, we also built an application which has been gained popularity over the past years. It's been out there for the past 2 years, I think. Which is a MITRE or MITRE attack app for Splunk. The idea, this is an app that we developed, and the idea behind it was a customer actually asked us to show their events in the framework's matrix. So with this app, you can represent your, it has two aspects. You have the assessment of your platform according to the framework, and you have the detection aspect where you can actually see the triggered events in real time and how they fit into the framework itself. And I'll hopefully, if we have time, I'll show a quick demo of this as well. I think I have it on my local box. And it's a drill down approach where you can actually use it automatically with Splunk. The idea behind this was MITRE itself has great tools to investigate, for the engineers to investigate in detail. But the framework was a manual approach, and it's not actually fully integrated with any of the SIEMs. So this is a real-time approach and kind of an all-in-one platform with Splunk, where you can investigate with your SIEM and make sure that you have the attack framework matching and correlated with the existing investigation and instance. So in this section, what I'll do is I'll try to summarize the topics that we reviewed in terms of the use cases. And then next we'll go into the demo part of it. So with Splunk, some of the use cases that compliance is one of the major issues that we have due to regulations. It's an easy tool to make sure that the companies, banks, financial institutions over here can pass audits with minimal effort. And you can have your monitoring set on this. We have SOC teams utilizing Splunk. And you have the full visibility across your security infrastructure. And it's easier to investigate and your incidents and perform forensic analysis. You can do threat hunting, advanced threat detection with ad hoc searches, and it's fully capable search processing language for detection. And the SIEM solution, which is the Enterprise Security, shortens the investigation lifecycle with the instant response actions. You can automate a lot of the things, especially if you have a Phantom or similar SOAR technology, you can actually perform automations right away. And I'll get to this slide real quickly. This is Splunk's benchmark on the value that it got out of 2,000 plus customer engagements. So I'll just leave it out there for a second so that you can review it. So these are some of the efficiencies. It's a nice marketing slide, obviously. In addition, of course, Splunk has been a leader in not only in Gartner, IDC, Forrester, and in other industry studies, and it's been used by many of the Fortune 100 as well as other companies. And here's a quick list of all the companies in different industries that you can view. So what I'll do next is I'll skip to a demo right now. And okay. And I'll try to go through a technical demo first. Before diving into the demo itself, I want to show you the community link where you can find Splunk communities. It's a forum, right? You can have many questions and answers answered over here. And then the Splunk base is your app store, in a sense. You have your different applications like machine learning, Palo Alto, content updates, etc. Anything that you ask for can be found here. So if I have any security related stuff, if I want to search for it, it gets me a number of applications. And anybody can write these applications. Like one of the things that I mentioned was a minor attack framework application, for example. And these are the things where you can log in and download and plug and play, and it will be available on your platform itself. One other thing that I want to mention, which I'll show in the demo, is the Splunk's search processing language, which is one of the differentiators, I think. And these are some of this is Splunk documentation. Splunk documentation has extensive information within itself, and I would recommend diving into it. And if you have any questions or any details about this, I'll be happy to share with you. And these search commands come out of the box with Splunk. And we can go back and forth with the demo. So you have over 200 maybe search commands that you can use. So that kind of gives the power behind Splunk search itself. So let's dive into Splunk. So if once you installed Splunk, this is your screen. And Splunk is basically, the base Splunk comes with a search application. The search application, you can think of it as your data center's little mini Google, right? For the demo, what I'll do is I'll try to do a deep dive in the technology itself, show you how Splunk works in the background very quickly, and then go to the SIEM portion, like the enterprise security application, because I don't want to show you the nice, colorful dashboards right away without explaining why they happen the way they happen. So what Splunk does is, this is the base Splunk, no applications, nothing. I just installed Splunk, and I'm ingesting a bunch of data into it, right? So I have data coming from many hosts, in this case, 108 hosts, different sources. They can be log files, scripts, host data, event collect, syslog, whatever you name it. If you have something that you can ingest, then you can ingest it. And you define source types. Like these source types define the type of data that we're representing. You can also store them in different indexes, like different databases, if you will. So let's say I want to go to, do I have something like a 40 something? Yeah, let's say I have some Fortinet data, right? If I want to search for any data, I simply type it in for either the field name, value, key value pair, and this is the time range that I'm looking at. So at the moment, I'm looking at Fortinet data within the last 24 hours. I don't have that many events, but it's just an example of how it works. So this should just do fine. And what I can do is, if you look at the events, you have all the events listed with the time frames extracted from the event itself. So you have the event time frame represented here, and each event has a bunch of fields extracted already. And these are the advantages of having those apps and add-ons, or you can also write extractions on the fly for search time, and they can match anything, any data. We can do that based on regular expressions, key value pairs, CSV or whatnot, JSON, right? So for Fortinet data, we have our events and we have our fields over here. So I'm just a beginner. I don't know anything about Splunk. And what I want to do is I just want to make sure, I just want to see the blocked actions, for example. So once I clicked any of the events, or I could have typed this in over here, for example, I only see the Fortinet events where action field is blocked within the last 24 hours. I can also append some of these things. So if I want to see action that are not, the events that are that have the action field anything but blocked, right? And I can also view all these events. And what Splunk allows me to do is I can, like a Linux command line, I can use pipe to add the results of this search as an input to another search. And for example, I want to see top destinations, top values for destination when action is not blocked, right? When I type that in, Splunk will show me this. So any output, I run this search, the output of this search goes to a top command. Top command lists the top 10 destinations, in this case, within the last 24 hours. And if I like this bar chart, I keep it. If I don't like it, I make a pie chart. If I like this, I make a dashboard panel, and I can add it to a demo panel shared in the app. This is my demo. Actually, this is demo dashboard. I named it wrong, but and I can simply create a pie chart within the application as a dashboard. I'm not going to view it right now. It's not very interesting. Well, it's not going to be interesting, whatever I do. I'll show you the colorful pieces later on. So this is something that I can get, right? And I can also do the same thing with many other commands. Look, so top is one of the commands. For example, for any command, that one of the most used commands is stats command. You get statistics and you can perform analytics, aggregate analytics on the data itself. So each command has its syntax. You have many other fields that you can, arguments that you can pass into the commands. So what I can do is I can also do the stats count by destination, for example, right? And this instead gives me result of 67 results, and it performs the count by destination, and then I can sort it like that. If I want to get the same result as a top command, I can do sort, for example, sort top 10 by count descending order, which pretty much gives me the exact same result as the top command in this case. And I can also perform the same visualization like I did, or I can save this as a dashboard panel as well to an existing one, my little demo dashboard, stats demo, for example, right? So with any dashboard, if I have saved this, with any dashboard, you can also view it, take actions and whatnot. I'm not going to dive into it, but for any search that we have, so if I say, I'm not interested in any of these events, I'm interested in X event, which is blocked actions within the last, excuse me, I don't know, 4 hours, whatever. If there are any events, yeah, there are, okay. And so I can save this as an alert as well. So this is the base of a correlation search and automated action, right? So I have a demo alert, which is based on a setting. I can make the schedule to run on a cron schedule, say every 5 minutes, right? Or I can do something else, whatever. I'm not going to say this anyway. So this is my setting. So what I have a search where I run this every 5 minutes, and I set a trigger condition for the search. It can be anything. It can be another search as well, a custom search. I can write another search like this, or I can base it on the number of results. Once my trigger condition meets, then I can have Splunk take actions on top of it, and these actions can be pretty much anything. The very simplest one is obviously to send an email. You can send an email to this and that, include the results in the email. You can have multiple actions per alert. You can have, over here, the demo has an order pizza action. If you have the webhook over there, you can order pizza, whatever. If you're late at night, you're in the SOC. Or you can have your custom alert specified over here. Or, for example, the Palo Alto add-on comes in with the quarantine host add-on, whatever, that you can provide an if condition for a field and then quarantine that host within Palo Alto automatically. So this is not a full-featured SOAR, but it's somewhat close to automation, right? Close to that as an automation that you can do within the out-of-box Splunk. This is the base Splunk. We haven't even touched the enterprise security piece right now. So for enterprise, what is enterprise security? Enterprise security is another application. Like if I go in, this is Splunk Enterprise Security. You can also download it as an application as well. You put it in and installed on top of Splunk. And what it does is, once you have enterprise security, it gives you an overview. So you have your security posture, for example. And if you can see, you have many views. So Splunk has built this on top of Splunk platform itself. And supports it. It's based on industry best practices and Splunk's experience on the topic. So within enterprise security, you have a concept called a terminology, notable event. A notable event is a correlated event, a triggered event. And it has its own urgency levels. And this urgency is defined by the incoming rules severity against the asset's identity or asset's importance level, right? And it's same as an OWASP matrix, if you know what I mean. But if not, we can find the result and then I can show that to you as well. So within this view, I'm a SOC engineer. And if I look at the screen, I see, oh, there's a IP address which has a bunch of correlated search counts triggered over here. So if I click on this, it takes me to instance review screen. By the way, this is a older version of Enterprise Security, but the idea is the same. The newer version has somewhat different features, almost, I mean, very identical features, but some additional features and a little different UI. So in any case, once I clicked that little here over here, the IP address over here, it takes me to this instance review screen where I can investigate and see all the incidents related to this IP address within that custom time range, right? So if I say, let's say let's take a look at this one, like rare processes. If I take a look at one of the instances, a threat landscape, I can see that this IP address has a risk score assigned to it. I can also perform investigations based on that. I can also click on the action drop-down menu, and then perform asset investigator, for example. I can click on the asset investigator link, and then it will perform a search for that asset. And then based on the detections that I have, which anything over here is customizable, I can edit different detection and intelligence lanes over here. What I can see is, oh, I have authentications events increased over here, which along with some changes, as well as IDS attacks. So I can click on these guys, see what authentications happened, what kind of IDS attacks happened, or if there are any risk modifiers according to this guy, right? This helps me to drill down on a specific asset or an identity, almost like an entity analysis manually. And then as a SOC manager, for example, or a lead, I can also select some of these incidents and I can assign them to individuals. I can say, oh, this is an in-progress incident. I can change its urgency, and all these workflows are configurable. Whenever I speak about any dashboard, any view in Splunk, anything you see is configurable. Everything has a configuration in the backend, and everything can be overwritten. So I can assign it to myself, obviously, because there are many other demo users over here, and I can do that. So this is a demo comment that must be 20 characters. So I save it, right? It has a medium urgency, in progress, and assigned to me. I hope it saves it. Yeah, there you go. So the next time I go to my instant review screen, what I can do is as a SOC engineer, I can look at the incidents that are assigned to me and perform an investigation. This is okay. If it ever opens up, there you go. So that are assigned to me. Let's see what we have. If it shows up, there you go. And what I can do with this, like I say, I also want to take further action. I want to add this to an investigation. I can add it to an existing investigation, which is a demo investigation that I had previously. So I save it, or I can create a new investigation. What exactly is an investigation in terms of its concept? Investigation is something where I can have many incidents creating an investigation issue that I have to dive in and then perform some, of course, threat hunting activity. And the investigation has a thing called workbench, where I can add artifacts like a user, this is another user, or an IP address, and I can explore those entities. And once I hit explore, for example, not within the, well, yeah, let's do within the custom time range, within a specific time range, and I can see authentication data, some other context, maybe some network data, and I can also include some other identities within this analysis, right? The good thing about the investigation workbench is not only I can view the timeline and provide a summary for the management, I can also include other engineers here to help me out. So I'm struggling with investigating, or I have questions, I include some other SOC engineers or some leads they can help me out with the entire thing. And then you can, of course, change the status, close it out, and whatnot. So this is a quick demo of the life cycle of an incident and the investigation part. Other than that, you have a bunch of out-of-the-box dashboards, right? I have the Access Center open here. Let me open up an Endpoint Center. Let me get, let's say, Vulnerability Center. See, anyway, so you have, what Splunk does is Splunk has separated out into 4 domains of access, endpoint, network, and identity. And for each of these, you have your ready-to-go dashboards and panels. And if you look at any of these panels, let's say for Access Center, you have authentication, you have Malware Center, you have Vulnerability Center, which gets data, it's data from like Nessus, like vulnerability scanners, Rapid7, Nessus, whatever you want. And any of these panels actually are searches in the background. So what if I open the search over here, it is this search that generates this data where I can perform it, convert it into a visualization that I see in the panel over here, right? It's the exact same thing. So this search is running in the background for this dashboard with these parameters. So anything is a search in the backend. That's why, for example, if I want to create a custom panel for my organization, but I like custom dashboard for my organization, and I like this panel over here, and I also like malware activity over time by signature, I can copy this, copy that one, combine it into one big panel, one big dashboard, and then review it, use it for my own purposes, right? I can also create custom ones. Other things that come with enterprise security is, one thing I like is risk analysis. And there are other protocol intelligence related dashboards, threat activity, user intelligence related stuff. Like you can select and identify your users and investigate those. You have web related intelligence. One cool thing I like, it was in the demo in the older versions, but I don't think they populated the data with this guy. I hope they did, but I doubt it. Yeah. Okay. This was almost like an APT detection. You can have whois lookups. This is out of the box also. You can, if you ingest whois lookup data, you can also, and with your proxy data, you can see, oh, I have a user who is going out to this URL, which was only 1 day old, 7 times. That's almost like an APT behavior, right? So a newly created domain being accessed from internal users. Or you can also define a risk analysis. You can utilize the risk analysis framework for any correlation rule. You have a risk score associated with the identity or the asset. You can have it. And then this is pretty helpful because you can see that, oh, I have this IP address, which has a pretty high risk score, meaning that many different correlation rules triggered and included this IP address either as a source or a destination. And pretty much same thing for the active sources or entities. In this case, like these users are pretty risky for me, right? And how do you configure your content? So that's one of the questions. How many correlation rules are there within Splunk? Many, of course, and you can create many. For example, I mentioned that the brute force piece. Let me show you this guy. So, for example, brute force attack access behavior detected. This is a classical search that we all see with any SIEMs, right? Classical SIEM approach performs this based on static thresholds. You have 5 failed logins. You have 100 failed logins and then maybe a successful login followed with that. That's my brute force behavior. What Splunk does is to minimize false positives and make it more approachable and meaningful. It actually performs the queries based on a data model for enterprise security. What is a data model? Like authentication data model consists of, I'll get to that maybe if you have any more questions about that, but simply data model contains all the different authentication related data under one umbrella. So if I have Linux, Windows, application X, Y, I can match them to data model. So I don't have to worry about individual sources when I'm running the query. And what this query does is it applies a machine learning toolkit model to this. So in the backend, I have two queries. One of them performs the machine learning model, updates the machine learning model continuously. And then this guy utilizes that machine learning model and figures out, oh, if I have a failure followed by a success, if it's going above the high threshold for that data model, then this is an issue for me. So let's trigger this correlation search. And once it's triggered, and you can see it's the same cron schedule, earliest time, latest time. It looks at the last 60 minutes, well, 70 minutes in this case. It runs every 5 minutes and then makes the aggregated calculations. If it has any results, it triggers these response actions. It also has throttling available. So this throttling, what it means is, based on this source, if this alert is triggered one more time within the next 1 day, this is almost a day, then do not trigger the alert. I'm working on it, right? Just generate one alert for this period of time because that's my SLA, for example. So one adaptive, I can add as many response actions as I want as before. I can add, again, the Domino's Pizza thing over here. All the actions are available to me. And two things that to note over here is one of them is risk analysis. You simply specify a risk score, 0 to 100, for a risk object. It can be either an entity, identity, or any other. And what this does is it populates the risk analysis dashboard. And the other thing is a notable event, which is the correlated event action, right? Once you have a correlated event, you give a name, and you also provide a drill down search if it's available. So if the engineer clicks on the link, the event pop up, it can go and drill down, perform other searches. You also provide extraction fields, and then you can also include adaptive response actions, right? So the engineer can see some response actions on that instant review field, and then simply click and go there eventually as the next step. So this is enterprise security in a nutshell. I know I've kind of gone over the time a little bit. I also want to show you my local MITRE ATT&CK framework really quickly, because that has been pretty helpful with enterprise security content. So what this framework does is you have a compliance view, and this is my own environment, so it doesn't have any data in the backend. I've created, I think, a couple of demo scripts, demo searches, dummy searches that generate alerts every 5 minutes. So within this, you can see that based on this, for this 1189 technique ID, for example, or I have 1 rule and 0 enabled, so it's colored. So for these guys, I don't have any rules enabled in the backend, but for this guy, I have some rules enabled. So I can click on any of these guys, and it shows me the rule names that are associated with this technique ID. And if I click on any of these guys, it takes me to Enterprise Security's configuration panel. I can enable, disable, and change the rule over here. This is my entire compliance view. So how compliant I am in terms of this framework using the Splunk platform, right? I have how much coverage do I have? The other part is the matrix, which shows me within the last 15 minutes or whatever time frame I want. I can make it real time, relative, or historical for that matter. I can also expand it to sub-techniques if that is required. It shows me like with which tactics do I have triggered alerts. So in this case, I have some external remote services alerts that are triggered. And if I click on any of these guys, it takes me to Enterprise Security's instant review screen. This is a new version, so it has a different UI. So I can simply review the rule, triggered rule, with the risk modifiers and everything similar. And then I have those adaptive response actions where I can click and view details. And just one more view that we have over here, I think that may be useful. It shows you based on the entities, like the IPs or users, that how many different tactics that it reflects upon. So this is helpful where I can see, oh, this IP address has an initial access and privilege escalation. So issues. So this is somewhat tricky. That's something that I need to look at, right? So perhaps someone performed initial access to this and then ran privilege escalation related executable or something that is detected by my correlation rules. Okay. I think this is enough for now for the demo, I guess. Okay. I guess we can have the questions right now. So if I stop this guy, that'd be okay?
Here we go. So,
let me stop. Yeah, sure. Let me stop sharing. Okay.
Yeah, I did it. We don't have any questions. So, nevertheless, if there are questions, and we can be able to answer them if you send us an email via sales@datanet.ro. Or I think this is it. I don't think anyone was gonna write any question. So, Selim, thank you for the presentation today, and thank you everybody for attending this event. I hope this information was useful for you. I wish you a very good day, and that's it.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for the opportunity. Bye.
Bye.